It's like a scene of Anchorman here.
That's enough. Aaron Kerry.
Welcome once again to Ratified, and today we're going to chat about our families and their involvement in the GAA, and where better to start us off than Mark O'Shea and the famous O'Shea clan from Armagh. I suppose, Mark, straight up, you're growing up next door to Uncle Paddy, everything that came with the success of the Kerry teams he was on. What was growing up like in your household, and how much of an influence did that have in something that you maybe wanted to replicate in later life?
Yeah, it was incredible. Like, it was two older brothers, Darren and Fergal. They were always brought to the games. Myself and Tomas were left at home. You know, it was just like we were probably a burden. But so we never got to see the great Kerry team playing. Obviously saw them on the TV, but the two older boys definitely saw them. You know, but like, growing up was amazing because they'd all come back to Armagh afterwards, be it a Munster final, and back then you'd celebrate for 3 or 4 days, and they used to love coming back to West Kerry, back to the Gaeltacht, and like, you'd have the Bomber Liston, Shawnee Welsh, Ogie Moore, and all these fellas, and like,
Good couple of days there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like, it was like Sam Maguire at that time was there the whole time because Kerry were winning the All-Irelands all the time. And I always tell the story, we're obviously from a rural area. In our school, there was 26 in the whole school. It was just really small. But there was no demand for Sam Maguire because the cup was there the whole time, as I say. And when Paddy was captain in '85, actually, he just gave the cup to the school for the full month, and every student was allowed to bring the Sam Maguire home for a night. So we had the Sam Maguire for 4 nights in our house, even though it was in Armagh the whole time anyway. But yeah, so like, watching these players come along, then you had like Kerry's golden years, and like, I could.
What age are you then? Around the golden years?
Well, 6, 7, you know. But when like, say, I'll never forget when Paddy was captain and the open top bus comes into Armagh, and I'm thrown up on top of the bus. It's one of my earliest memories, really, you know, and just incredible. And that was the year Paddy built the pub as well, and like, he got Charlie Haughey to open the pub for him. So there was a lot going on back then, like, you know, and it was great times. And then, like, you see, there was a barren spell then, as I said, like, for 11 years, Kerry won nothing. But like, so we grew up actually then watching Cork and Meath, but like, obviously still you wanted to.
I know the Ulster teams as well.
We did, yeah. You had Down in '91, Donegal '92.
Were they laid on the telly then there?
We did, and I tell you, like, I mean, watching back in those teams, like the Mickey Lindens, you know, the Bonners, the Anthony Malloys, the Gregory McCartans, like, it was great viewing. And so even though we weren't winning All Irelands, we knew what we wanted to do, like. And then I suppose, like, there was a lot of pressure. I'll be totally honest with you, there was a load of pressure because Paddy played 3 years for the Kerry Minors. My uncle Tom, he won an All Ireland minor medal, and he had the boast of being the only O'Shea to win an All Ireland minor medal. And his wife Roseanne actually came in recently and gave me his All Ireland medal. So it's something I cherish. You know, I have his All Ireland minor medal at home, and it's 1963. It is an amazing medal to have. And then Fergal, my eldest brother, he was captain of the Kerry Minors. Darla was a Kerry Minor. Tomas was 2 years a Kerry Minor. And I'll never forget, like, there was I was in the Kerry Minors, but the very first game, I was a sub and I wasn't on the team. And I remember driving the car home. I was crying that I wasn't on the team, driving on my own, going home. And like, I felt the pressure of, like, geez, leaving down the side and the whole lot. And that was the first time I really felt pressure. I felt as though I was a failure, that I was, you know, leaving the whole side down. And
that's a pressure of heritage, of everything that's gone before you in terms of the O'Shea family name, like.
Yeah, and like, we drew with Waterford. Do you know, I mean, Waterford actually had a very good minor team that time. We drew with them, but we were very poor. And Charlie Nelligan knew he had to make changes, and I got in, and then I got in again, so I played well enough in the Munster final, and played well in the All-Ireland semi-final against Laois, lost to Laois. So then I was kind of, I was in, you know, but it was.
Would anything have happened if you would have come home and say that time, say from not playing, and you said you're in tears, or you come home and you got in then, you come home, would there have been a chat from Paddy?
Oh no, there would have been nothing. There would have been nothing. They would just.
But you would have got the vibe.
Yeah, there would have been no pressure from them. I suppose I would have put the pressure on myself. You know, there would have been nothing said, no comment would have been made. The boys would probably pull the piss, all right, you know, it's Fergal there at the most, like, but there was nothing like that. But
they weren't used to high numbers like that on the back of a Kerry jersey coming into the house. You see?
Yeah, this is it.
Why wouldn't it?
But I'll never forget it. Then that was that All-Ireland semi-final was the first jersey that you got to keep, and it was the famous Adidas jersey. So it's do you know what, I gave away. The only jerseys I have at home are the ones, the All-Irelands that we won. I've given away every jersey, but I've held on to that first ever Kerry jersey. I have the Kerry minor jersey. But yeah, Paddy was huge.
Was there ever, Mark, you're so immersed in it there. I mean, it's all encompassing, one in Kerry, but then your family as well. Was there ever any playing other sports, passionate about other sports, and I might try soccer, and I might go away from down at rugby, or was it just 5-6 years of age and playing Gaelic football and that's it?
That was it, yeah. There was no soccer team. There is now. There was no rugby team then. There is now. There was no hurling team then. There still isn't a hurling team.
You put your foot down.
You're in West Kerry.
Darts on Monday night.
Yeah, the Pac-Man was as much as we got over in the pub. But like it was just Gaelic football. That was it, and there was nothing else. And if you wanted to play any other sport, you'd be killed, I'd say. Paddy'd kill you.
The 3 years were like phenomenal. Gee, because like 3 years, I'm speaking about yourself, Tomas and Dara, like, and you said far more spells of good games, All Stars, All Ireland. The list goes on, phenomenal. But is there ever kind of a time where maybe, can you think of any of the three of you might have been struggling for form a bit, or would there have been anybody in Kerry saying, geez, they're throwing them in because of who they are?
Yeah. Oh Jesus, yeah. Like and I had this chat with Aaron when Paddy was manager. He was always accused of nepotism, like, you know. And I remember when Tomas started his. I think we all had a tough introduction to it.
Yeah, at the start.
That was the bit where we all struggled. Dara struggled. Dara was midfield, but at the time, like we see Dara now, the big strong man. Back then, he was slight. And he was playing midfield, and he was coming up against Anthony Tohill and Brian McGilligan and Gregory McCartan and Conor Deegan and all these big, Anthony Malloy and Brian Murray. I remember him marking Brian Murray in a league game in Tralee, and, you know, struggling. And like then Tomas came along. He was cornerback in '98 against Aidan Dorgan in the Munster final. Full packed house in Fitzgerald Stadium. Tomas was carted at half time. There was people in the stand shouting at Paddy, "Bring on Beatrice," who was my grandmother, like, you know. So that he was definitely accused of nepotism. So I always felt when I came along that I actually had to really prove that I was at it. And I only started playing cornerback in 2000. We played. It was a needy area for the Gaeltacht, and I was going in with Kerry in that year because I was playing well enough in the county championship, and then I marked Pat O'Shea in the county final, who went on to be manager afterwards, and did well enough in the county final, even though we lost by a point. And then the following year, Johnny Crowley was in like Player of the Year form, and I marked him in the county championship game and kept him scoreless. So then it felt, even though I was on the panel, it felt as though Paddy had to give me my start. And then went on, and that year, and I talk about, say, the minor being one of the greatest, I suppose, under pressure periods in my time, but definitely then 0-2 against Armagh. Had a very poor day at the office. Our full back line was poor, I suppose, but I was poor, particularly poor.
Who were you on that day? That was a serious.
I was on Dermot Marsden.
Such a smart player, like,
experienced
as well.
Yeah, and I think back in it, and I was marking Gooch a lot in training. Yeah. And you're marking a fella who's probably a half stone lighter to go and marking Dermot Marsden, who was probably
powerful,
2 stone.
Yeah.
And I was going in marking Gooch every night in training. But I remember, different challenge. But I remember coming off the field, I'd say after 50 minutes being taken off, and I remember being in the Hogan stand in the dugout for that 20 minutes, knowing that I couldn't make any impact. I was absolutely.
Hard spot to be in.
Oh, it's a very tough spot to be in, knowing that you can't make a difference, and tough year, because my dad had passed away that year, just a month or two before that. Dara was captain, Paddy was manager, and we just wanted to we wanted Sam Maguire, I suppose, just for Dara being captain, and the year that he was just incredible that year. He was just like, oh my God, you look back in the performances he gave, like just phenomenal. And just for him himself, it's just disappointing for him. Had the year that he had. Obviously, we didn't begrudge Armagh. Paddy was incredible afterwards. I suppose you look and you try and learn from people, and the way he was so gracious in defeat to Armagh.
I was in the change rooms whenever he came in that day, and just how well he spoke, and the way he went round everyone, and how he made Armagh feel was incredible. Just, yourself, the charisma that he had. But it's funny, you're feeling that burden, and obviously he was the only one we ever won, so but our entire full forward line all scored 3 points, 3 points in play each.
Yeah.
Yet you feel like maybe the burden was falling on you a bit because you were Paddy's nephew, but unfortunately that was just the way of the world at times. There was that bit extra pressure.
I was poor, and and I suppose the one thing, even though I had no control over that 20 minutes when I was taken off, I just knew that this is the toughest now that I've been through. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim, and I knew I was going to swim. I knew I wasn't going to let it get the better of me, and just needed to come back stronger, And it was tough time.
But Mark, are you saying that surely, and maybe not, but is there a confidence as well of being an O'Shea and the legacy there as well? Like say, the tough times, the resilience, the character of you guys, as much as being outstanding players, there's a very positive aspect to that as well, I'd imagine.
There is. Sure, you were surrounded with positivity a lot of the time. Going training with Paddy, geez, the crack. It was incredible.
You all won the one car?
Yeah, the West Kerry car, as you call it, and
what, meet up where, or picked up at the house?
We live right next door, so Paddy used to always go training early, so we were all in the car. Sometimes Dara wouldn't be there because he was working in Tarbert at the time, but just the crack and Paddy. I remember this time, this lady, she asked Paddy for a lift to Killarney. Now, Paddy said he'd bring her, but he didn't really want to bring her to Killarney, because he felt, if I bring her now this time, she'll want to go again the next day and the next day. So I remember Paddy, I'd say, McLaren or Ferrari, Mercedes wouldn't get a look in the speed that we went to training. She got out in Killarney. She was white. And she closed the door and she was getting on the train, and Paddy just said, don't think she'll be asking me for another lift to Killarney. But it was always a laugh, and judging on how training went, if training went brilliant, geez, we'd go home, we'd stop in the shop in Killarney, we'd get an ice cream, and the crack was 90. If training was poor, he'd be driving home, you wouldn't open your mouth. Yeah. He'd be going around 40 miles an hour, thinking of everything that happened in training. And so he had the standards, but the crack. So you were surrounding yourself with positivity straight away. Magic. Yeah, it was great fun. And the two boys went before me, so I knew, and Fergal obviously was there as well, and he had injuries along the way. He played with Kerry, played a few league games with Kerry, but unfortunately the injuries just took its toll, and he went on to manage the team then. And he was as hard as us as a manager. He'd come in and he'd set the standards in terms of the Gaeltacht, and it was a successful period for us as a club. And I suppose when we won the county championship, that then took the pressure off Paddy, knowing that he could, there was 5 fellas from the Gaeltacht. So Fergal did set the standards with the club, which was great, and it was great to see him. And he kind of got going again, and he played in the All Ireland club final with the Gaeltacht in 2004 as player manager. So it was great because the club was so important to us as well.
Bridget's in the semi-final.
Yeah, played Bridget's. And it's just, we grew up at a great time, and I suppose funny with the club, it was at the start of our career, at my career, that we had success, and we won 2 county championships. So it was great times. And you know what? As I say, learn from the boys, the mistakes they made, and I suppose they were able to help me along. I'm looking at you, right? And you didn't have an older, I know you did, Paddy, but you did. But you, that's why I think that what you've achieved is incredible. What was it? I know your dad was involved in football, but what was it for you that you wanted to be a player with Donegal?
I think for me, the only child that was dad was involved a bit out in the club and underage Donegal teams, and it was just you just went with them. You were in the sideline, you were on a dressing room, you were throwing out a bit of water. I always remember going, and Martin Coyle was the underage busman, and the bus used to leave Mr. Chipley and Letterkenny, and you were 7 and 8, and you used to just be there. And so it was the bus of Kerry and Christy Toy and Colin McFadden. They were all playing at that time, and you were immersed in it. The scars, I always remember going as a supporter. I think if I wasn't playing with Donegal, I would be there supporting the team as hard as any. I loved the county, I loved everybody. Early scars, I always remember going to Clonus, Donegal getting beat Derry in '98, Joe Brawley's famous goal. I remember out here, Armagh beaten, I remember Tyrone beaten, and I remember just saying to myself, the heart that Donegal people had, and within myself, everybody coming back home with your flag, crying in tears, Donegal getting beat again. I says, Jesus, if there's anything you can do to put Donegal on the map that bit more, you would try and do it, So very early, for me, it became about, I had a kind of a mission in my head that type of way. But we know ourselves, it's a team sport. There's a lot of luck involved, and then as you move up through the levels, you're so fortunate to be in with managers like Jim McGuinness, like Rory Gallagher, Declan Bonner. You were so fortunate then. But for me, the mission started extremely early, and it was clear in the head,
Like that there is, that's brilliant for you, because I know myself, whenever I went home, I would have batted stuff off the brothers, or you had someone to talk to. But as you're saying, if you're only a child and you're going home, you're carrying an awful lot. Like, for you to think that way, even as a young person, is incredible, and it probably gives a bit of an insight into why you ended up being the leader that you were. But to then go on and captain Donegal so soon, and for Jim to see the obvious traits in you, like, is that something, whenever he come to say it to you, right, obviously you've been under 21 captain, Michael, but I wanted you to take it to the next step, was there any sort of doubt in you, or did you sort of feel at that stage, no, if he has the faith in me for this job, I'm going to take on with it?
Geez, there was doubt, surely to God. You were, what, 20? You had only played 3 years senior inter-county, ropey enough 3 years,
Were you made captain at 20, Mike?
20, yeah.
Jesus,
20,
that's incredible.
So it
incredible.
was, but like, the role, you have to keep on saying this, like, Neil Gallagher was a club mate of ours, like Glenswell, there was no county players ever came from our club, really. You always had you would have had a model like Tomas or Dara to say, right, if I do that, I'll make it through to there, and say that, follow that path and make it playing with Donegal. He was a huge element for me, like, in terms of even coming on at 17, simple things like picking you up at the back door of the house. Like, I look back on that now thinking, like, going into your very first dressing room, as after you called up, you're like, Jesus, do I sit here? Or is that somebody's seat, or things like that? So he would have brought me in that way, and he would have been very good in that regard. So, but the captaincy one, yeah, it was. But listen, the first 2 years captaincy under Jim, it was just literally go up and pick the toss. There was no need for huge speeches. Former captains were already in the team. Rory Kavanagh, Neil, Kevin Cassidy, Christy Toy, they were all there. They were all sound lads. That group got a
actions, though, I'd say, is how
actions,
you felt
that's
you could lead,
the way
like,
that
by
you
the
could,
standards that you had set, and have others to follow you that way.
Yeah, that's it. And you were lucky that they were being set, not just by himself, they were being set by Jim himself, that kind of way. So I keep on saying it was probably the easiest captaincy role to ever get into.
But isn't that, like, from Jim's perspective, to come in, there's probably easier, safer options for him to give a captaincy to the, like, more senior established guys, but to go, I'm going to give it to the younger guy, not knowing that I would have felt you were probably Donegal's best player even then, a lot like Cassidy, Carl Lace and these guys, but you could see you were a special player. We would have known each other from the underage Ireland things, and you'd see this fella's going to be top of the pops, like. But for Jim to give that confidence to you, did you feel nervous if you're, I'm the captain and you're chatting to Carl Lacey or Cassidy, older guys? Was that ever a burden for you, or did you have total confidence going, well, Jim trusts me to do this? I think the players probably would have known as well your quality. Like.
The picture was so clear. Like, the one thing that Jim did when he came in, the way you played, the standards of training, they were so black and white clear there was no real need, other than for me myself, to be front of the queue and doing things, front of the warm-ups, you know, and first meetings, those kind of standards I would kind of always have done or tried to do. So there was no need for a rousing or pulling lads in or anything like that there. We were always a fairly close group. We still are, that whole group, very, very tight, friendly. You know, had bad times, and I think that probably strengthened that group a lot. There was a lot of bad times that kind of group suffered, you know, but it was a great time. Kind of knew how we really clicked, myself and Jim, within the 21 campaign the year before, just as regards footballing people, you know, thoughts, beliefs, chats about the game. Like, you go on a call to him, you're going to call for 2 hours on evenings chatting about football. So, yeah, that was kind of very, very fortunate. As I say, I keep going back to say it was an easy captaincy situation to come into. You know, there was no need for pulling in lads or pulling in players. The standards were so black and white that was set, you know.
So, someone coming from the big city, different sort of background than Glenswilly or rural Ireland, like, is seeing your brother playing for Dublin, does that automatically send you down that direction or give you something to strive for? Or were you distracted by other sports, or...?
It was pivotal for me. I could have spoken about it before. I played soccer when I was younger. You know, my parents weren't big GAA people. They just kind of wanted us to play everything, and I suppose we're fortunate in Dublin. You had the access to play pretty much everything, and I played all sports. But soccer was what I was passionate about, and I was reasonable enough at it. And I remember Patter Broke and played minor under 21s with Dublin. Not very successful. It was that Laois team would have been very good. They were kind of the dominant team in Leinster. And when I went to Croke Park, it wasn't at the 95 All-Ireland final or anything like that. It wasn't. I'd watch it, but I wasn't passionate about it. And then Patter made his debut in 1999 for Dublin. Tommy Carr was the coach. And it came to the Leinster final. It was his first start, and they played Meath. He was marking Ollie Murphy, so he tough day at the office. Cornerback was not for the Andrews brothers, definitely not. But I would have been 10, and I was in the old Hogan stand. Was still there, and I went in, and my family went in. I just remember just watching. There was this, like, Leinster final was like whatever 70,000 people at it, and just thinking it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was like this. I was hooked from that day on. It was like a switch. I was like, I want to do that.
What age are you then?
10. Yeah. I would have played a bit primary school, coming to Munster stuff, but wasn't a member in Bridget's or anything. With soccer, it was kind of between going and joining Shelburne or Talca Rovers and soccer, so it was kind of decent, and that was what I was going to try and do. And then I just seen that and seeing a family member down on this pitch, and it was like amazing. Dublin were beaten, well beaten, 5 or 6 points. Meath went on and won the All-Ireland that year. But
while you were playing the soccer, were you still playing with Bridges, even though
no, not at all.
So
primary
so you
school,
just started playing football at 10?
Yeah, properly, and just fell in love with it. Was very fortunate in Bridget's. We had a really, really good underage team. We were a great coach, a guy called Cormac O'Sullivan, Kerry blood, and that was it. The switch was flicked. Played a little bit of soccer, but that became secondary, and it was just GAA flat to the mat. And I was fortunate enough. It was a good team. I was reasonable enough at it, and that was the only way for me going forward. You know, so Patter would have massive influence. Never really seen it as a burden or anything like that. I was an eye opener that this could happen, and now, unfortunately, my own young fella now, I was passionate about Dublin GAA as it's incredible.
Yeah,
it just sucks you in.
And would, like, say, when you started off with Dublin, then would Patter, like, say, obviously the boys were able to help me out. Would he have helped you out? Would he have given you advice?
Not really. No, it was more just. I remember.
Didn't tell you not to do cornerback anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we both knew that. That was clear. But we would have played a bit. We never played with Dublin together, but we played with Bridget's.
Yeah. How many years?
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
We lost the championship final. 2010 was our last game together. We lost to Crokes in the final. He was full back and I was full forward. I was actually gutted about that. It would have been magic to. I've always looked up to him. It would have been magic to have won the championship together. But I remember I used to mark him in training. This was a big thing. Like,
how did that go?
Reckless. Like, he would
tearing into each other.
Absolutely batter.
Yeah, that was one thing we'd always try and do. You keep the brothers away from each other.
Jerry McAtee was our coach, great Meath man, and he was like,
loved it.
Paddy, you go centre forward there. Paddy, you go centre back, and everyone was waiting to see what had happened. Patter style was...
It's never going to end well.
No.
But that's funny that you say that, because I remember Dara got a ball one day in 0-2, and like when we used to be playing in the backyard, the boys were obviously bigger than me because I was young, and you know, you'd go in and they'd absolutely bait the shite out of you.
It's sibling stuff though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
They'd go harder on you.
We'd come in, and so I used to have to come up with, like, say,
different
tricks,
evasive skills.
when they take their
This is where the dummy solo
That's
come
where
out
the
of.
dummy came from.
So
Yeah,
when they
Dara
take their
Tomas.
four steps to get. So I used to actually get very good at blocking balls, and I remember training one night in Killarney. Heavens, it was pissing from the heavens, and Dara came in along the sideline. He was playing midfield, and it was whatever, we were playing against the other team, and he went to kick and I went down to block, so I blocked him anyway, and next thing he went in with the knee afterwards right into the ribs, and so next thing I come back and I hit him back, like, this is all in Fitzgerald Stadium, and a row breaks loose, like, and he's probably looking at me, you little shit, like, to do that to me. And that's the way it was.
Remember, there was a drill, backs and forwards start on either side
Either
of
side
the
of the
post,
post, yeah.
and it's like 4 and 2 backs and 2 forwards come out, or it's 6, and sort of McEntee's out to 45 and throw the ball at goal, score a goal. Like, and he's lining up, and lads are kind of taking the fist, moving back. And it's like 1. There's me and Patter, and I was kind of young for, kind of didn't think it'd be this serious. Go out and get a ball, and I tried to dummy solo him to go by him, and I mean, Hulk Hogan closing him, and he'd no interest in the ball, and no matter what happened, I was not going by him, and he knocked me into the next week. And McEntee, of course, loved it. That was his style of play, and I remember was getting up, and the lads were kind of laughing behind, and I was nearly, Jesus, Patter, and he just jogged straight by me. That was it. It was like, don't around.
Good
here.
introduction. Yeah.
But that was his, my biggest supporter. But I think that's just sibling stuff, isn't it? You would have had it obviously with your brothers as well. But it's a brilliant way to learn that aspirational thing that you were talking about. You're seeing someone from your club, or fortunate from your own family, out there on that pitch doing it. I mean, it's hard to get better inspiration.
Showing you it can be done, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like,
it's
you know what I
it's
mean?
real.
You look at these
I can
lads
do
who are
this.
your heroes, like, who, like, you know, you idolised, and then all of a sudden you're
It's a
seeing
special
somebody
thing.
you idolised in your own area, or in your case, your
own
own
gaff.
house.
Do you know what, it's just you saying that there, it's funny, you sort of think, oh well, I had a family member that went before me, but you got that desire from just a club person who you seen, and you took that inspiration and you wanted to follow suit with him. So it just goes to show you, like, there doesn't necessarily have to be a success within the club or a tradition within your family. You obviously, there was just something that clicked within you that Neil Gallagher was the person, and a great person to follow.
Fair.
But I remember Neil he made his debut against us. I think it was a quarter final in 05, and I remember you're plotting and planning for absolutely everything, and there was no planning done for Neil. But I remember Dad saying after the game, who the hell was this boy? Like, you know, because he just came out of nowhere that year.
Yeah,
and
making enough through him, and
Exactly.
I wasn't afraid of. Yeah, definitely. So again, it's just, I keep coming back to it. It's that plan. You're looking for secrets, like how do I play for Donegal? How do you play for your county senior team? And you try and find secrets through the development squads, through the minors, through the 21s, whatever way you can plot your way up through it. You try and do. You know, that's the whole idea. Yourself, Aaron, obviously family dynasties here all around us. Was there ever going to be any other way with yourself, like in terms of, like, you know, your father, your brothers, everything? Was it always going to be Jay? Was there a pressure to play?
There was never a pressure, I have to say, but maybe just a bit like Mark. Like, I don't remember Dad obviously playing, but I remember he went in as a selector with Armagh with Paddy Moriarty, who would have been a teammate of his and an all-star, and he was a selector in 1981. So I remember going to training in the car with him continuously, to training at athletic grounds, or they were running around a forest park. And I can remember then just starting to try and join in to running with them, you know, and you got to know the players, and then you seen them playing in big days, and that there's just sort of got you up and running and got you really excited about the thing. And then I genuinely, I'd class myself so fortunate, and that then Dad went in to manage Cross McGlen, and you're sitting in the house with him all the time. And I suppose if you have to remember back then, like, we hadn't won a club championship from 86 to 96, maybe a bit like the famine you're talking about in Kerry. And he's managing a team and he's talking about winning All-Ireland clubs. And I hadn't even seen them in a county final, let alone win one. But then you're at training, you're getting to know the players, you're listening to him talking about tactics and how he deals with players. And then, like, I was only 12 whenever we won an under-12 championship on a Saturday, and Crossmaglen won the county final in the following day in 96 against Clonagale. And you're talking within 8 months, they're All-Ireland club champions. So I know all these people. I'm sitting in the change rooms with them, I'm sitting in the bus, and you're very much part of it. And then, to be fair to those boys, they went and backed it up again in 99, they backed it up again in 2000. And then you're a Crossmaglen player or Crossmaglen person growing up, and you're seeing Crossmaglen men with no inferiority complex going to Croke Park to beat Nafena from Dublin, or beat Knockmore, Ballina, beating Lawn Rangers, who were the reigning All-Ireland club champions.
That was 97,
in
was
1980. So they're the All-Ireland club champions, and you're beating them.
Yeah.
For you, when like Cross are they're a massive club. Like, for all of us, know they're the club they were when I was growing up. Is it I want to play with Cross, or is it I want to play with Armagh? what or like, you know, or was it both? Maybe, but it was both.
A lot of that would have happened within Armagh, and that bit off frustrated me. Where some people tried to make it club against county, and I was like, I can do both, and I want to do both, and I'll give everything to both whenever the time was right. The scheduling of things probably frustrated me, because myself and Mark, we just had this conversation earlier. I was very fortunate. I played for Armagh for 11 years, but during those 11 years, we won 7 Ulster clubs. So you were missing half your inter-county career because the seasons ran over continuously. So that is something now that I have a huge regret about, but it was out of my hands at the time.
2 games in 4 months.
Yeah.
You know.
You were winning an Ulster final in December, and you weren't playing an All-Ireland semi-final till the end of February.
And would that have been something that you would have felt maybe the Armagh, your teammates or your Armagh general public, would they have maybe put that towards the Cross players to say that, you know what, they don't really, they're not pulling their weight with Armagh here, are they?
Yeah, they would have, and I was as frustrated as them, but equally, again, the 3 All-Irelands I was fortunate enough to win. Like, I can remember winning the first All-Ireland in 07, and the crack was great, and I come home on the Sunday night, and I woke up on the Monday morning, and Dad said, "What are you at?" And I was like, "Oh, just all the boys are heading out." And he's like, "We have a league game next Sunday. We had a chance we were going to be relegating against me." He says, "Get into that gym, do a bit before you head up that town." And I was like, right, fair enough, that was it. So you had the day's crack. But I was back training with Armagh on the Tuesday night, and I did that continuously. Like, you relegated us in Ballybuffet in 2012, and we beat Gary Castle the Saturday before that.
Was that a replay?
It was, and we had 2 or 3 good days now. But I was back at training on the Tuesday night, but I remember coming out of Ballybuffet then, I was lashing out of the heavens. We were relegated, and I was sitting on the bus, and I was like, Jesus, that's just after taking all the good out of it now, so it has, because you're just depressed, and it's a long journey home, and winning that All-Ireland the week before, for me, it was gone. It was just, that was a distant memory then. Like.
How many All-Ireland club finals did you win with replays?
Two.
So
2.
Crokes.
Yeah, Crokes in 07 and Gary Castle in 12 that time. And Bridget's, the one that I played in, was out here in 11 that we won. And then obviously the other ones, they won them on the day as well. So that was really where it came from for me. Like I said, from a young age, growing up and been in around that county squad. And then there was definitely, you're talking about a light bulb moment where you're hooked. I remember Cross were going for back-to-back All-Irelands, and there was a guy, John McCluskey, came in to help train that year. He was with Queen's, and Dad got him into Crossmaglen that year because he felt they just needed something different, a different voice, and he trained him. It was the first time I ever seen a bleep test being done, and it was. It ended up Tony and John McEntee and Oisín McConville, the 3 of them. Just going and going and going, and I remember the McEntees had the tops off then because it was indoor, and the sweat lashing them, and they were like 2 Adonises that were ripped to pieces, and I just remember going, that's the level, and that's what has to happen. If I want to play and I want to win All-Irelands, that's like, because I seen all the good times, I seen the crack, I was on the bus. Granted, I was only young, but I seen what it took to get there. And that one night I was in the high school in Cross. never forget that. It just stood to me, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to be easy if you want to get to where those boys are at.
Isn't there always secrets around? Like, you know, the young people always ask, sure, you maybe go and speak to us, and they say, well, how do you become an intercounty? Like, there's just secrets around, and you don't have to go up to the biggest team in the world. If you look within your own club or your own team, and you look at who's the fittest or who's the strongest, there's secrets around to be got there all the time, you know, and you've seen the secrets of the 3 boys.
And sometimes we look real further afield, and everyone was reading about the All Blacks at times and that there, but you have to look within your own club or your own county to see what makes you tick there.
Yeah.
Do you know, and buy into that.
It's a bit like when I was telling you before about Paddy telling me with Seamus Moynihan, just be that sponge and just learn everything that he's saying. It's like that, and you look at the fellas who were bringing it to the next level and creating those standards, and like the players you're talking about there, you had them in abundance.
And the club, like in your club.
In your club. And that's excluding Herty and Francie Bellew or Jim McConville, who was obviously a household name prior to that.
The beauty of the GAA is that environment is there. You know, Jarlath Byrne spoke about this, the community, your club. You could be down playing the mini leagues, you're 8 or 9 years of age, and you're seeing all-stars and legends there. And it's real. It becomes, it's not it's hard, it's bloody hard. We used to have, Jim Gavin used to always say a phrase to us, if you sit down and ask every team at the start of the year what they want to do, every single one of them would say, we want to win the All-Ireland. Well, that's fine. Are you willing to pay the price? And there is no secret around it. You need to have lots of good things, but you are not getting anywhere without the sacrifice, working hard. The McEntees winning bleep tests, Michael Gallagher, Mark, Tomas, Dara, these guys. You don't become that level without putting in unbelievable work around that, and to be able to see it firsthand in your own club, it makes it real. It is achievable. I think that's the beauty of the club structure. We look at them as heroes. We're all supporters of our own teams now, and watching Dublin, and like, they're heroes, but they're real as well. They're accessible.
I know from hearing one about you where you had spoke to a certain group of players, and the so-called leadership group, and you said, can you see yourself lifting that cup? Are you visualising yourself lifting that cup? And that was something that you had, and I thought that was class, because then if you see it, then right, strip it back. What have I to do? What boxes have I to tick for that to happen? Because you said everyone wants that cup, like, and everyone wants the 2 or 3 days crack or the week's crack or whatever's coming after it. But there's a price to pay to get up there. So I did hear that one about you.
Yeah, listen, it's like us all. Sure, you were at the back of your house. Like I'm trying to picture it out the back here. Like, I know out the back of our house. Like, there's an apple tree. Like, and there's an apple tree wherever way the 2 branches grew. They kind of went out like a V. But that was just your Crow Park, and you used to commentate like the Elmer Hurtig going through in it and hitting the big high one over the bar, and then you would get up on top of the wall, pretend you lifted, like, so. But you did that every single day, like, you know, you'd come in from school, through the bag in, and I could imagine, like, what would the games not have been like at the back of the year?
Me and Fergal, he was the eldest, I was the youngest, against Tomas and Dara, and like the gable of the house.
Who was the ref?
This was it.
Like, it's €100 into that game now.
But I remember Fergal, and Fergal was a great man to catch a ball, but like, as the years were going on, Dara was able to get up, and he was like going up higher than him, and then Fergal would go off to college. Then it was the 3 of us, and then Dara had gone off to college, and then it was me and Tomas, and we were constantly like, and I'm sure it was the same with you know, like when you had somebody there, it was constant, like, you were improving your skills the whole time. No different to
you're not thinking of it that way.
Yeah,
but you are.
Yeah. We used to have competitions. We used to have competitions, kicking competitions. We used to have 9 kicks, and we would start with our say, just get 9, see who could get 9 out of 9, and then we do it with the weaker leg and see could you get 9 out of 9, and like, it was like the intensity of the competition that was over the bar. No, it wasn't. It would be a fight, like.
But do you think that's a big challenge for younger players and younger people today? I don't think you see, and I definitely don't see it in Dublin. It might be different where you guys are coming from, but I don't see kids doing that.
It's tougher.
I don't see kids going out having kicking competitions.
Life is completely different.
Yeah, like, say, I agree. Like,
I suppose the world, it's a dangerous place. Sometimes, you know, you have to be so mindful of where your kids are all the time. And like, I just think we grew up in a different different time.
Do you think of the skill? Like the skills there to organise themselves in a 2v2, to half referee it, and there's a bit of probably mediation needed there, even though you're not thinking.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably maybe playing on a slant of a pitch, and you know there's so many play aspects there, and you're learning different skills that you're right, like that this new generation, that's why I suppose the overall piece, or there's teachers or coaches or everybody now,
So
we need
important.
to try and find a way to allow
We had
them
a
to
chat
play.
a couple of weeks ago, probably arguably the best player in the game now, David Clifford, obviously very high profile, an incredible player to watch. We were just chatting around how do you kind of get to the level he is at, and look, it's very aspirational, it's very difficult for kids to reach that level. But he just spoke about bag of balls, down the pitch. My spare time, what he would enjoy doing, I'm going to go down and just kick for an hour, that's relaxing. I talk about improving skills without even thinking about it. And that's, again, there's no secrets in it. It's repetition.
We did the same. I remember as kids, we organised.
That was your hobby.
We organised street leagues where there's 4 or 5 different housing estates in Cross, and we all would have played for Crossman Rangers, but then we'd have our own street leagues out of that. And then I suppose you throw in the other element, like, is what we were growing up in. Like, you were growing up in nearly bloody war zones, you know, and you had the army. But even at that time, you're talking about it's a scary world now. Like, your parents just let you go because they knew where you were going. They're heading up to play football. And
like, you were asking me about where Gallerus is, like, say about the Gaeltacht's football field. We used to cycle 8 miles to Gallerus in training. You train and you'd cycle 8 miles home. And that was like where the Gaeltacht is. It's a big area. It's sparsely populated, but it's a huge area. But, you know, not that many people there. So, like, you'd have to cycle 8 miles training. And if it was pouring from the heavens, you'd still go and you'd train and you'd come home. And it wasn't until, say, under 14 level that the trainer was Micheál O'Shea, famous Kerry footballer, won All Ireland 69 and 70. He was the commentator that used commentator. And he, like, I mean, like, we're here talking about family and like who influenced who. Like, I owe so much to that man in terms of himself and Liam O'Rourke. What Micheál in particular, because his son Micheál Og was on the team, but like what he did for us all the way up under 12, under 14, under 16 minor, and Liam O'Rourke is the exact same. But like, and we all have it. We all have mentors within our clubs.
Yeah.
But there's no way that I would have played with Kerry without Micheál O'Shea. I just think that what he did for me and the belief that he instilled in me. And I know we talk about Paddy and, you know, the lads and my dad and the whole lot, but like, there's the hope, and I'm sure we're all the same in terms of the mentors in our clubs.
Crucial,
I mean,
isn't it?
yeah, it's incredible.